They smashed through my front door with crowbars, dressed like federal agents barking commands as if I were some fugitive, while my HOA president stood outside with a smug grin like she'd orchestrated the whole thing. The sound of splintering wood echoed through my chest, and in that moment I realized my life wasn't being stolen quietly, it was being demolished in front of my neighbor's eyes. And the worst part, deep down, I already knew this nightmare had been brewing since the day I moved to Oakmont Ridge. My name's Marcus Thompson. I'm 39. I run an electrical contracting business I built from nothing, and 2 years ago I inherited my grandfather's house in what was supposed to be a quiet suburban community. White fences, backyard barbecues, polite hellos from neighbors. That's what I thought I was buying into. Instead, I walked straight into the crosshairs of Patricia Williams, our brand new HOA president, and the woman who decided my life needed to be dismantled brick by brick. Patricia came with a reputation: sharp clothes, sharper tongue, and a talent for bending rules until they cut like glass. The first violation I got was over my work truck parked in my own driveway. Her son Brad showed up to document it, clipboard in hand, measuring tape professional camera gear like he was CSI Suburbia. The kid was 25, but something about him rattled me. He moved like me, spoke like me, even tilted his head when he thought the exact way I'd been doing for decades. Watching him walk across my yard felt like looking in a mirror I hadn't asked for. The fines started piling up fast, 500 here, 1,000 there, like they had a whole playbook ready to run against me. At first I thought I could reason with Patricia, sit down, be neighborly, work it out. That illusion died the second she leaned across the HOA table and hissed, "Rules are rules, Marcus. You can follow them or you can leave." That's when the cracks started forming in my so-called American dream. I noticed my wife Diana whispering on late-night phone calls, dropping words like protocols and evidence collection. She was supposed to be a bookkeeper, but since when did tax professionals sound like military operatives? I asked her about it, and she brushed me off. Client issues, she said. But the flicker of guilt in her eyes told me there was more. The neighborhood meetings turned into public trials. Patricia painted me as the reckless contractor endangering their property values. Slideshows, talking points, the whole production. By the time she was done, half the neighborhood looked at me like I was cooking meth in the basement. And me, I went home, sat in my garage, staring at the stack of violation letters and asked myself if maybe she was right. Maybe I didn't belong here. Maybe I should just sell and walk away before this got worse. That was my lowest point, feeling like a stranger in my own home, questioning every move I'd made. For a second, I almost believed Patricia had won, but then the puzzle pieces started falling into place. I dug into the families who'd been forced out before me, 4 of them all corner lots, all driven into the ground by the same sequence of fines, hearings, and lawsuits. Their properties had been scooped up cheap, not by random buyers, but by a company with a familiar name, Morrison Geological Consulting. Patricia's maiden name was Morrison. Suddenly, this wasn't petty HOA harassment. This was organized theft. And then came the twist I never saw coming. I overheard Patricia whispering to Brad about adoption papers locked in her safe papers that mentioned DNA. My stomach dropped. Because, as insane as it sounded, everything about Brad, the way he walked, the way he knew electrical theory, he shouldn't screamed bloodline. I confronted Patricia, and in her driveway, the truth spilled across the asphalt in the form of medical documents. Biological father Marcus Thompson. Probability 99.97%. Brad wasn't just my tormentor. He was my son. Try to picture that, standing there watching a young man who'd been helping destroy your life realize he was actually your blood. His face was pale, his whole world collapsing, and all I could do was stammer that I hadn't abandoned him. I hadn't even known he existed. Patricia's venom poured out, then twisting history, accusing me of ruining her marriage, of stealing her dead husband's legacy. She hated me not just as a neighbor, but as the man who unknowingly fathered the boy she'd raised. Brad was shattered, torn between loyalty to the only mother he'd ever known and the truth he'd just seen in black and white. And while I was still reeling from that revelation, another bomb dropped. Diana, my wife, the bookkeeper, who talked like an agent, finally broke cover. She was FBI Financial Crimes Division embedded in Oakmont Ridge for 2 years investigating Patricia's entire network. My marriage had started as an assignment. Every dinner conversation, every kiss goodnight, it could have been evidence. And yet looking at her I knew the feelings were real. Messy, complicated, but real. She laid it out. Patricia wasn't just harassing neighbors. She was running one of the largest property theft rings in the country. 47 families, 15 states, $38 million stolen. And my land. Sitting on top of a $15 million natural gas deposit, Patricia had been plotting to steal by forcing me out. The fake violations, the smear campaigns, it was all part of a machine she'd perfected. And now desperate, she was escalating to something darker. That's how we got to the night of the raid. Patricia had hired mercenaries, former military, to pose as federal agents, storm my house, and plant evidence that would justify seizing my property. Stolen electronics, bags of drugs, illegal weapons. Brad had been ordered to place them in my garage. The plan was airtight. My reputation would be destroyed in front of the neighborhood, the government would auction off the house, and Morrison Geological would scoop up the mineral rights. I can still hear the pounding on my door, the wood exploding, the shouts of federal warrant as they dragged me against the wall. My neighbors were outside recording everything on their phones, convinced I was a criminal. My heart hammered, and for a moment I thought this was how my story ended, with Patricia's lies cemented as my legacy. But then Brad snapped. Faced with the choice between continuing his mother's lie or choosing the truth, he pulled out the FBI recording device strapped to his chest and shouted, "It's all on tape. Every second." That single act broke the spell Patricia had over him and over the neighborhood. Seconds later, Diana made her move. She flashed her badge, her voice cutting through the chaos. "FBI, you're all under arrest." And like a movie scene, real agents poured out of unmarked vans, houses, even the damn bushes. The fake cops froze, realizing too late they'd walked into a trap 2 years in the making. Patricia's mask shattered completely. She screamed about betrayal, cursed her own son, even tried to lunge at him with a knife before agents dragged her away in cuffs. The woman who had spent months orchestrating my destruction collapsed into a sobbing, raging shell as cameras rolled, capturing the downfall of a suburban tyrant who thought she was untouchable. And me? I just stood there, heart still racing, neighbors staring at me with wide eyes as the truth settled like dust after a storm. Patricia was finished. Her empire crumbled. And the nightmare she'd created for me, every fine, every lie, every humiliation, was exposed for what it was: organized crime hiding behind HOA letterhead. In the end, justice doesn't always come quickly, and it sure as hell doesn't come clean. But it comes. And when it does, the same walls that trapped you can be the ones that finally come crashing down on those who built them.